All right, Florida State makes a hire on the defensive end coaching position, and I've got mixed thoughts on this, but I think this is going to be the most positive video we've done in a few weeks. I actually like this hire, not necessarily for the specific candidate. I just like what it signals for the Seminoles. We've given you our thoughts, not going to be doom and gloom on everything, haven't changed on that, not trying to overhype this. I'm not in a mood to overhype things that Florida State does. That's not the tone that I'm trying to give, but when you look at things individually and you start to break down what this may mean for Florida State, overall, I think this is a good move by the Seminoles. Nick Williams, defensive ends coach, edge coach, position coach for Florida State now, first reported by Football Scoop. Noles 24/7, Zach, Brendan, those guys have confirmed this and then also kind of given some more context. If you are into learning a little bit more, I'm not going to go through a whole list of his accolades and guys he's recruited and stuff like that. Just, I don't care to dive that deep into it. But if you go over to Noles 24/7, unpaid, you certainly can go check that out. They're not telling me to say that, but I read their article this morning. Really good stuff from Zach Blostein over there. Originally from Bainbridge, Georgia, so fairly close regional, pickup here. Obviously played college football and then was on UGA's staff for a few years. Helped with some pretty high profile recruitments. Then went over to Texas A&M. Was with Jimbo Fisher. And helped that class be the number one class in the country, one of the highest rated recruiting classes of all time. Was at Colorado. That's where he got his first on-field job. And then the last couple of years has been with Fran Brown up at Syracuse, helping the Orange. Now, I know people will say, oh, well, where's the big time? I mean, listen, he was on staff at UGA, on staff at A&M, and then went on field. And like anything else, you've got to work your way up, being on staff with Dion in Colorado, and then being on staff. And I know it's Syracuse. I know that, oh, well, what's he really done? Fran Brown's an elite recruiter, came from Georgia, knows how to get guys in. And I like the experience that he's had. Obviously, very varied with going from a couple of big time SEC programs out to Colorado and Syracuse, but I do like the experience he brings. Now he's at FSU, and I think this is good and helps in a couple of different areas, but it also signals something that's a little bit bigger, which I'll get to in just a minute. I like his I like his approach. What I've read, what I've watched some get to know you stuff. I've read some stuff about, just where he is and how he relates to kids. I think that's a big deal. Now, we've talked about this because we saw with other coaches around the country, other coaches at FSU. I don't think you want to be everybody's best friend. I don't think you're trying to relate in that way. I think there does still need to be a healthy amount of respect, but I do think recruits are different now, where money plays a big factor. And just having some of that youthfulness, having some of that energy, some of that passion as a young, hungry guy. It's one of the things that when he was hired at Colorado, honestly, and we were kind of breaking down what Dion's staff looked like on other channels and pages, he was one of the more exciting hires. And he's continued to be elevated, going from Colorado, then to Syracuse, and now to Florida State. I like what he brings from that perspective. I think it's a change from what Florida State's staff has been in a couple of ways. Let's talk about those ways. One, his youthfulness, his energy, his passion, just the way that I think he approaches things. Florida State staff, let's be very fair, is a bunch of old heads, right? Like, and it has been. Atkins was a little bit different, where he was a little, energy, I don't know that was like top of the line. I think he was a little bit more laid back. But he was more of an old soul to me. And then you look at the rest of the staff for sure. Gus Malzahn, Herb Hand now, Terrence Knighton, even Pat Surtain is not like this high energy guy that's going to be in your face when he was at Florida State. JP, obviously Odell for all those years. They don't fit Mike's, like when Mike is rolling and has things kind of going well. They don't fit his like relentless grind, effort, passion, energy. They're a bunch of old guys, right? They very much focus on development. They very much focus on coaching guys and systems and schemes, and think that's right or wrong. It doesn't really matter. I do think that this is a change from that. It is different in that direction. I think his energy, his passion, the way that he grinds, having worked under both Jimbo and Kirby at two massive SEC programs, I think that's good for Florida State to get in the building. And I think it signals a shift in a approach for Mike Norvell. What do I mean by that? We'll talk about that in just a moment. Let me give Campus Course some love. They have a Christmas deal going on right now, the hat and polo combo for $109. They also have a 15% off right now on the website. And then you can use our code on top of that, DFNS20, for 20% off. You can get this for less than $100 if you just go take advantage of all those stacked discounts. The hat and the polo. You can customize the polo however you want. I'm wearing one right now with the spear on it. You can get the Seminoles on it. You can get it blank. You can get it with the logo, whatever you want. Campuscourse.com. Make sure that you are checking them out. I know you're all doing Christmas shopping. I was talking with somebody last night who was wrapping Christmas presents. Make sure that you are supporting the people that support the channel. Campus Course is a great place to do that. I'm wearing their hat and shirt combo right now and today as I fly back from Alabama to get home. So go check them out. Why is this a shift? Well, again, we just talked about it. Mike Norvell has been very process, very development, very focused in that direction. And what have we been saying about him? The recruiting's not good enough. The recruiting hasn't been good enough at the edge position, certainly at the high school level. They did get Kier and Jermaine and Jared. They've done a good job in the portal at edge. They haven't recruited elite guys at the edge position. The Desir twins have been really nice, but man, you flipped a 4-star last year at the last minute from, was it LSU is where you got Lee from? He's already announced that he's going to be going to the transfer portal. You haven't done a good enough job at the edge position, and you've got to get better there. And I think this signals that Mike Norvell does understand. We're talking about the front office. We're talking about the way that they're going to change a recruiting approach. I think he does understand that you do have to have some recruiters on your staff. You can't just have a bunch of guys that just want to coach guys up, turn 3-stars or lowly recruited guys or guys that you're battling out group of 5 and low-level power 4 teams for, turn them into stars. It does work. Farmer was a 3-star. You can certainly take a 3-star and turn them into something that's really good. There's no doubt about it. But it's a lot easier to work with better clay. And we've been complaining and whining and moaning and all the other words. I'll keep it PG. We've been complaining about that for quite a while at FSU. Mike has to get killer recruiters on this staff. Now, I'm not telling you that Nick Williams is Tim Brewster in 2013. I'm not telling you that he's that kind of coach, that he's that kind of recruiter. But I do think that he is much closer to that than most of the other people on this staff. Not telling you that everybody on this staff's a bad recruiter. I'm not trying to crap all over the staff. I do think there are more staff changes that need to happen. In fact, it's a little surprising to me that more haven't happened as we're recording this on Monday morning. But I do think this signals that Mike is maybe shifting a little bit more towards that recruiting tree. It's like playing the video game, the College Football 26 video game. You can't have your entire staff just based on scheming and development. You got to have some recruiting in there. One of your coaches has to have some extra hours that he can put into going out and finding elite talent, going out and getting elite talent. And Florida State's approach at the edge position has not been good enough. I do think that they've done a good job at other positions. Wide receiver is one of them. DB is certainly one of them. They've done a decent job at halfback, but a lot of the other places on this roster, they haven't done a good enough job recruiting elite talent. They might get a guy here or there. You think about Kevin Wynn, you think about this guy, that guy, but they haven't done a good enough job of really going out and getting those difference makers. And at Florida State, with such a history and such a legacy of great edge prospects and edge players that we've had down throughout the years, and even recently through the transfer portal, they've not been able to capitalize on that. And so this does seem like a shift in the way that Norvell is approaching that. My thoughts on Norvell overall haven't changed. I'm not coming on here and telling you, oh, yeah, this is the move that solidifies Mike for the next 5 years. No, I still think what I think about Mike, but I want to win games. I want to go 12-0 next year, right? Like I want to go out and not be miserable on Saturday. And I think if you want Mike to work out, or if you think there's a chance he could work out, which, let's be very fair, Mike Norvell working out at Florida State, going on a run where he only wins 9+ games for the next 5 or 6 years, that is what's best for FSU. And you may not like Mike anymore. You may think he has no chance of doing that. Yeah, I probably am in that boat too. But if you think there's a chance that it could work out, or you want to see some things start to turn around, these are the kind of moves that I think you have to make. You have to change who you are as a coach because what you're doing is not working. And I do think that's a positive sign for FSU fans that no matter what you think about Nick Williams, the coach, what he'll end up being, what his success level will end up being, this is a positive shift in Mike Norvell's mentality that I do think will have positive benefits for FSU. Now, does that take FSU from a 5 or 6 win team to a 10 win team? No, not at all. I don't want to pretend like this is the move that's going to solve it all for the Noles. I do think the shift in the way that Mike Norvell is approaching building this program is a potential positive. And so it's a small positive, right? Like this isn't some massive win that just all of a sudden overnight fixes FSU. There's a lot more that needs to be fixed, but it's a start. I also think that this is good for the defensive line just in general. I don't know how much I loved the results that we got from this year's defensive line under Terrence Knighton. Now, some of that is scheme, some of that is players, some of that is him as a coach. I think he did an okay job. I don't think it was elite by any means. I don't think that it was over the top great. I thought we got pushed back too much. I thought that you were having to rely at times on true freshmen that were developed okay, but I wonder where the Desir twins ceiling is. I think you did an okay job of the defensive line. I like having 2 defensive line coaches. I like having 2 defensive line coaches more than I like having 2 secondary coaches. I like the idea of bringing in somebody just for the edge position and letting Knighton focus on the defensive tackles and then both assisting each other because they are very different positions. So I like that shift as well. It will be help in game on the defensive line and through obviously spring and summer and fall camps to really get these guys ready to go. The proof will be in the pudding if this works out or not. I like the hire. I like the approach. I like the way that this is a little bit out of character or different from Mike Norvell to go after more of a recruiter, to go after more of, hey, bring me the elite guys and then we'll coach them up. We've got other guys on the staff like Odell still off field, Knighton and this defensive staff, in totality, but go get some elite guys. I do appreciate Mike for doing something different that is more out of character. He's been asked about better recruiters. He's been asked about the idea of development or coaching versus recruiting. And he obviously has skewed very heavily towards the other side, the non-recruiting side of it. I like that he's changing it up. Now, is it a move of desperation? Is this just the best he can? I have no idea. Ultimately, I think this is a positive for FSU, but I don't want to oversell you, right? I'm not trying to tell you that, oh, well, book your tickets to Charlotte next year because we're going to the ACC championship. I still think this team is probably going to struggle. We're going to have to learn a lot more about this team through the portal and then what we get out of guys there and that signed in the recruiting class. But for today, I think this is a good move by Mike Norvell and Florida State. There will be a lot more moves, whether it's the portal, whether it's the front office stuff, whether it's the GM that hopefully gets hired somewhat soon. I have major concerns about this program still under Mike Norvell's leadership, but today is a positive day. Make sure that you are locked in. Make sure that you are subscribed because as some of that news continues to come through over the next several weeks and months, we will continue to talk about it and share our thoughts. Appreciate, again, Sleeper, always make sure you use our code DFNS for a 100% matchup to $100. We appreciate Sleeper for their support. Go get the Campus Course hat and shirt combo. Use our code DFNS20. Appreciate you guys as always for tuning in. Go Noles.